My name is Lauren Roman.
And my name is Michelle Conradi, and today we're going to be talking about Mathematical Practice 6, and the topic is attending to precision.
Okay, our first practice problem will be finding the area of a house, so the front yard of the house. So we're going to multiply 3 times 7 to find the answer. So 3 times 7 equals 21. So the answer to our problem, the area of the yard, is 21.
If you said your answer was 21, your calculation is correct, but the answer is only halfway correct. We are missing something from our problem. We have 3 times 7. What are we missing? We are missing our units of measure. So we have a front yard here, and we're trying to find the area of the front yard, but are we talking yards, feet? Maybe it's a large farm with lots of land and we're talking kilometers. But in this problem, we are discussing meters. Our units of measure are meters. So we have 3 meters by 7 meters. So then we have 3 times 7 equals 21 meters. And because we're working with area, it's 21 meters squared. So that leads us into our definition of attending to precision and the importance of this. When we attend to precision, we are using clear definitions when discussing with others. When we're discussing math problems with others, we need to state what our units of measure are, what functions are we using. So are we 3 times 7 equals 21? And when we use these terms, we need to state our symbols correctly. So we have the times symbol and then the equal sign. So 3 times 7 equals 21, bring in our units of measure, meters squared. And then we also need to label accurately. So if we had, yet again, 3 times 7, what are we working with? We need to know what units of measure we're working with. Or maybe this was 3 yards and 7 meters, well then we would need to convert them so they were both in meters. And then we need to always label accurately. Because we're working with area, it needs to be squared. If we were finding the perimeter, it wouldn't be squared. And then we also need to be careful specifying which units of measure we are using. This brings us to our Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, or SIOP model. And this model has 8 components that we will focus on. So the first component is lesson preparation. So state the lesson objective and give example problems to students. So here's our example problem, and our lesson objective is to find the area of our front yard. The second component is building background. So link lesson to past learning, personal, cultural, or academic, to introduce the new topic and to discuss vocab. So the vocab we would focus on in this problem is our symbols, which would be 3, so the times, the equal sign, and then our units of measure. So we would work on that. The third component is the comprehensible input. Use appropriate language for students. Use clear step-by-step explanation of the task supplemented with visuals. So yet again, our visual, and we would focus on the right units, putting them in the right place, making sure we aren't mixing the symbols, making sure we have 3 times 7 with the correct calculation of 21, and then the right units, meters squared. To focus on putting things exactly where they need to go to be precise. And then strategy that we can use is to give each student a set of manipulatives to focus and further solidify the vocab. So we have equals, addition, times, subtraction sign, and then their definitions. So as a table, or first individually, they would just try to work these, match the correct definition to the correct symbol. And if they need help, that's where they can have a conversation with their table partners. Get them talking about the vocabulary. Get them talking about math, talking about the problem, discussing with each other. This brings us to our 5th component of the SIOP model. That would be interaction. So we start as a whole group, which we did with our problem, and then we break into table groups. So this is where we could give them their own problem, different from each table will have a different problem. It will look like this, but just put different numbers. That way they'll have a different answer. And then finish with individual work. So that could be with our manipulatives. And as they're working together as a table group, the teacher is constantly monitoring to make sure they're having discussions, they're working together, that they're putting things, numbers and symbols in the right spot. See, to also gauge if they are understanding. That way she can determine if more instruction needs to be addressed and more direction. That brings us to our sixth component of our SIOP model, which is practice and application. And this would be the cutouts and with the definitions and symbols to help students visualize what they're talking about. And then the seventh component is lesson delivery. So this is explaining the why of our behind the lesson with the goal of 90% engagement from students to meet language objectives. So why is it important that we have the correct units of measure and that these are the same units of measure? Why is it important to put the times symbol in the correct spot and the equal sign? So if we were to switch those, how would that affect the problem? So we need to discuss why it's so important to be precise when we are working this equation. And then that brings us to our last component, which is review and assessment. So students come back together as a whole group and review the problem. This is where each table group can bring their problem and discuss how they worked it out and to check if they put things in the right order. And then they can check their answers with each other and with the teachers to make sure they were precise.
Now time to engage the learner. So we have an activity here on the screen. We are going to match the symbols to their correct definition. So we have all the definitions listed here and all the symbols listed here. So you have to read through each definition and find which symbol goes to which definition. And since you do not have our nice manipulatives here, you can use the slide and match A, B, C, and D to the definitions. Okay, now that you've had a little time to work, we have the answers here. So the first one is the action or process of adding something to something else. So that would be addition. So we have the addition sign next to that. So the second one is the process or skill of taking one number or amount away from the other. And that would be subtraction. So we put the subtraction sign next to the second definition. The third definition is being the same in quality, size, degree, or value. And that would be equals, so we put the equal sign next to that. And the fourth one is the process of adding a number to itself a certain number of times, which is multiplication. So we have the multiplication sign next to that definition. And then here we have the answers written out. So if you were doing it on the slide, you should have D, B, A, C.
We hope you have enjoyed our lesson on attending to precision, and we hope that this has helped you further understand the importance of attending to precision.
And these are our references that we use to help us create this lesson. Thank you.